Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 8:51 a.m. East Coast time, Sunday, July 7th. We're going to break down into the slate. Got a later start on the day, just did the WNBA video, just did the MLB research or initial research. Have a pool, or initially had a pool of 8 to 9 pitchers that I was interested in. Yes, that many. And after doing the splits research and some other research, it's now down to 6 with conviction around 3 or so. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Sal Vetri. I cover daily fantasy sports in NFL, NBA, MLB, which you're watching right now, WNBA. That video is up. There's a nice 4-game WNBA slate today. So I appreciate it if you could hit the like button. If you get any value from this video, hit the subscribe button. And I want to say something. I said it in the WNBA video. I posted it on Twitter. 49%. YouTube got some new analytics, different types of analytics. 49% of my watch time over the past 2 to 3 months has been by people who are not subscribed. That means half of you watching this video are not subscribed. So you can't hide no more. Hit that button. These videos are free, and the only monetary or any type of money or cost, that I ask from you guys is to hit a red button that takes 2 seconds because it allows me to grow and continue to do this. So if one day if I just vanish, it's because I went broke. But no, I'm kidding. But for real, this is free content. If you hit the subscribe button, it helps out a lot. The fact that half of the people, I was like, what the hell? I thought that maybe there's like 20% at most, like 1 in 5 people watching this aren't subscribed yet. Half of you are not subscribed? Hasn't this content been valuable? Come on, man. That's ridiculous. But anyways, let's get into it. And again, if you find value and you have been watching for a while and you're not subscribed yet, I don't know what you're doing. I really don't. But let's get into it. I'm just going to touch on the 6 pitchers that I have interest in. I'll talk about the 2 that I did have interest in, the reasons why I came off of them. And then in terms of hitting, it's a big slate, 22 teams. I'll do an article later today. It'll be out around 11 or noon, and it'll rank my favorite pitchers out of these 6. I guess I'll add some or choose or delete some. The ones that I'm getting to the most in my lineups, the 2 pitchers I like the most, the 3, 4, whatever it is, and then my stacks. There's not going to be a lot of hitting information in this video. That's something that you don't like. Well, probably go watch another video. It's difficult to do that since I don't have any of the lineups, and half of the lines for Vegas are not out yet. So it's really hard to kind of try and pick apart the stacks I like. I don't give out individual hitters or say any individual hitter ranks because I don't believe in that. You trying to piece together a lineup with the 7 best hitters, the best first baseman, the best value play at second and third, you're going to lose every single time. You need to be stacking your teams. The value sometimes will indicate that based on the pitcher they're playing, and that's what this video should be doing. You should be spending 80+% of your time on identifying your pitchers because that will also help you identify your stacks. And outside of that, you should find one-offs that have home run upside, power upside, and decent matchups and decent ballparks. That's pretty much how you play baseball, DFS baseball. You don't say, but who's the best first baseman today, Sal? No, I don't care. It's who's the best team that has a first baseman that is affordable in the middle of the lineup with power that I can stack around. That's what you say. So when you say, but Sal, I want to know your favorite outfielder and your favorite third baseman today. No, I don't have one. I don't care about it. If it's a one-off, if I'm playing my one-off, it's my favorite one is the one that has power, that is affordable, that I can fit into my lineup around my pitchers and stacks that I already made. So that's where I'm at. Starting with my favorite pitcher, or not my favorite pitcher, shouldn't say that, just my first pitcher I'm going to talk about based on price point. We're going to go down based on price point. Patrick Korbin at 10-9, faces Kansas City today. There's not much to say about Patrick Korbin. I mean, he's a great pitcher. His price point is now coming up to a spot where not a lot of people will like it. He strikes out 37% of lefties. That's pretty good. There'll be a decent amount of lefties in this lineup. You'll have Mondesi, who's back in the lineup for a week now. He'll be batting, second or third? So one of the power bats is gone. He doesn't give up much power there. Only 25% of strikeout rate against righties. This Kansas City team is better, but not by much, believe it or not, than that Miami team that he's been having successful starts against in back-to-back spots. Kansas City ranks second worst against lefties in terms of the power that they generate, lefty pitchers. That's pretty good. Second worst. The only team that's worse, Miami, the team that Korbin's been dominating the last 2 times out. 13th in K percentages is Kansas City. So about middle of the pack. But when you take this Kansas City team and you put them on the road outside of Kansas City, they're top 10 K team with 8th. They rank 8th. So Patrick Korbin, he's an above-average strikeout pitcher. He is going to go up against a team that struggles mightily against left-handed pitchers, against second worst ISO in the league. The ballpark won't help him, but he does have interest in me. I think there's a lot of upside here at 10-9. The second guy I've had down is Trevor Bauer against Cincinnati today. Trevor Bauer's matchup, look, he's been up and down this year, more so up, at least in my opinion. The walk percentage is a little bit higher. His hard hit percentage is a little bit higher. He's regressed since last year. Strikes out 30% of righties. That's where the big upside comes from. But he will allow home runs, which is worrisome. Now, his matchup today features a team that is going to strike out Cincinnati 10th. They strike out 10th most or 9th most, top 10 in the league against right-handed pitching. Not only that, but they are 17th in ISO. So a middle-of-the-pack team in ISO. But when you put the Cincinnati team at home, they get a little bit more power. So they become the 11th best team in terms of ISO against righties when they're at home. And they strike out 9th in the league. So it's about a neutral matchup, a little bit more favorable for the strikeout stuff. For Trevor Bauer, he is an interest of mine, but out of these 6 pitchers that I'm going to list in terms of interest, he's probably towards the bottom because I would rather pay 10-9 for Patrick Korbin, and I would rather save some money on the next guys that I'm going to go to instead of playing $10,000 for Bauer. But with that in mind, Bauer is the second highest. I mean, drafting point per game producer. He does go the deepest into the games at 6.58 innings pitched per start, and this is not a matchup that should worry you all that much. The fact that Cincinnati is pushing a top 10 team against righties when they're playing at home in this ballpark, because it is favoring hitters, right? One of the most hitter-friendly ballparks on the slate, a top 3 one. That is worrisome, so that's why he kind of becomes one of my last interests. David Price, this one should be obvious, 9,800. He's going up against Detroit today. Detroit, against left-handed pitching, strikes out the 6th most in the league, and they're ranked 24th in ISO. When you factor those things into playing in Detroit today, Comerica Park maybe, I don't really know the park, maybe that's it. When you factor those things in, it's kind of neutral still. It's the same types of numbers playing at home for Detroit. So they're a top 6 strikeout team. They're a bottom 7 team in the league in terms of generating power against lefties. You could probably have guessed that. David Price is a guy who's been striking out a lot of righties this year, 29%. The middle of that lineup, Miguel Cabrera, Nick Castellanos, and Jacoby Jones, if he'll still be leading off with some power. It's mainly righties that you're worried about. The only lefties I'd be worried about really at all is Nico Goodrum. You see this Candelario guy now continuing to hit home runs. He hit 2 yesterday, but I'm not too much worried about him. So David Price going out there, his price is now up to 9,800. He's almost a 10K pitcher. So it's a little steep for me, but he would be the third interest that I have today. He's a huge favorite, the biggest favorite right behind Korbin at minus 250. Korbin is a minus 260 favorite today. And the ballpark should play more neutral, so it's a better spot, at least in my opinion, than Trevor Bauer today. The fourth guy that I have interest in James Paxton, and I think I have a lot of conviction around James Paxton today. Look, he's a slight underdog, but that's mainly because Charlie Morton's going up against the Yankees today. Morton, one of the best pitchers quietly in the league this year. But James Paxton, I have a ton of interest in. You look at this Tampa Bay team and you say, okay, around an average team. 1 ISO is pretty much league average, and then they have a 24K percentage. League average. Pretty much those things are league average. So he has an average matchup for Paxton, a guy who's been struggling since the injury. But when I break down to it a little bit more, let's look into Tampa Bay's numbers versus lefties this year. Tampa Bay versus lefties is 4th in strikeout percentage. They strike out top 5, 4th in the league, striking out against lefties. Okay, that's pretty good. 26th in ISO. That's pretty good. So they're a bottom 5 teams in terms of power they generate off of lefties. They're a bottom 5 team in terms of the amount that they strike out, in terms of like being favorable for the pitcher, right? They strike out the 4th most in the entire league against lefties. And now you have James Paxton, who, yeah, his stuff has been a little bit worrisome. 10% walk percentage. He's been all over the place in terms of somewhat control, but really giving up power, especially to the righties in the batting orders that he's been facing for the past month or 5 or 6 weeks, because he's coming back off of this injury. But I think there's a lot of upside here. If you put this Tampa Bay team in their home ballpark, so we kind of exclude some of the road parks that are going to be a little bit more favorable than this Tampa park, they drop to being the 3rd highest strikeout rate against lefties and the 29th team in ISO. The 2nd worst team at home against lefties in the entire league, means that they just don't generate any power. That's very similar to Detroit. We're pretty much have a Detroit team against David Price today. How Detroit plays against righties is pretty much how Tampa plays against lefties at home. That's what we have been seeing this year. And then they strike out the 3rd most in the league at home, 4th most overall against lefties. You get a pitcher in James Paxton who clearly has above average strikeout stuff, 27% on the year, 28% against righties. And his only really issue lately has been against righty batters. Well, this Tampa Bay team is stocked heavy with lefties. You have Kiermaier. You have Austin Meadows. You have Brandon Lau, who I believe is still injured, which is another benefit. The only real worries in this lineup in terms of the right-handed side of the plate are maybe a Tommy Pham. And that's it. And I'm not too worried there. Paxton's home runs have been mainly from the right-handed side of the plate, given up. But I love this matchup for him. I think Paxton, as of right now, stands as my favorite pitcher on the slate. Yes, this is a stacked slate. You have Morton, Korbin, Nola, Wheeler, I didn't even talk about. Bauer, Price, all up top at 9,800 or below. And then you get James Paxton, who in my opinion, yes, I get the recent struggles. He should be a 9+ K pitcher. He's very close to it. But I mean, like David Price, 9,800, especially for this matchup. This matchup does not get any better for a pitcher than it is for Paxton today on the slate. And he clearly has the upside if he can just piece it all together. I love Paxton today. My next interest is going to be a lot more down in Devon Smelter. So Smelter is going to be coming in long relief. It's an interesting spot. He's coming in long relief for Kyle Gibson today. I imagine it's because I'm not really sure why, to be completely honest. My best guess is that Devon Smelter is a lefty, and I know that Texas is really bad against lefties. Texas strikes out the most in the league against lefties at 28.8% of the time. Smelter, in 2 starts and 2 long relief appearances, he's gone 6 innings each time. He's pitched pretty decently, actually. And now he gets a Texas team that, like I said, ranks 1st in strikeouts against lefties at 28.8% of the time. That's got awful. And then they're 17th in the league against lefties in terms of ISO. So they're below average team in terms of the power they generate. And they're the worst team in the league in terms of striking out a lot, lots of swings and misses. Smelter has had a lot of success against lefties in these 2 starts. It's very hard to break down a guy who's only gone 12 innings so far, 12 and 2/3, whatever it might be, in long relief efforts, but has had a lot of success striking out lefties. Has given up a lot of power though, so he's 6,900. His upside is huge here because he just is going up against a team that is god-awful against lefties. But there are a lot of downsides. The ballpark in Minnesota is another huge upside. The fact that he's gone 6 innings in 2 starts means that they're allowing him to really go deep into the games as a long reliever. All those things you like to see. The price point is favorable at 6,900. He's an interest of mine. He would be my 5th interest on the slate today. 6th interest on the slate for me, and the last interest is all the way down, $5,000 flat, Trent Thornton. I'm baffled. He's a 176 favorite against Baltimore. I am baffled by this price point, Trent Thornton. Look, the first in the league, 12th in the league striking out against right-handed pitcher is Baltimore. So they're below average opponent. Look, this is not a great opponent in Trent Thornton, but he goes about 5 innings pitched per start. He has decent strikeout stuff for at least his price point, right? He should be probably closer to the 6K, 6,500 range because he strikes out overall 23% of batters. That's much better than anybody else down in this range who's not a pitcher opener, like we have a couple of those today. So I'm kind of baffled by this price point. The matchup is definitely beneficial. So when you look into it, when you take this Baltimore team out of Camden Yards, when you take them out of Baltimore, they go from being the 12th highest strikeout rate against righties to the 4th. They become the 4th most. They strike out the 4th most in the league against righties on the road. So take them out of their ballpark. That's what you get. That's a big enough difference for me to think that it's meaningful. So top 5 team in terms of their swings and misses on the road against righties. And then when you take this team overall, their ISO against righties is 25th. So they're a bottom 6 team in the league overall in power. But when you take them out of Camden Yards, a hitter-friendly ballpark, well, then you get them being 29th. The 2nd worst team in the league on the road against righties. So Trent Thornton, he's not a great pitcher. He's not a $5,000 pitcher, though. They messed up here. This guy should be in the 6K range. He should not be below some pitcher openers, some Jose Urquidy, some Joe Musgrove against Milwaukee. No. So Trent Thornton, he's way too cheap today. I think he allows you to get up to a lot of bats. He's my 6th guy in. So who are the 2 pitchers that I had in and then took out? The first one's Erin Doyle. Part of this is just a factor of pricing. I did like Bauer, Price, and James Paxton more than Nola for below. I did like Korbin more than Nola for above. Just the matchup in general is a little bit better. So you're going to be playing in Citi Field, which is nice, but the Mets only strike out 18th most in the league, so it's a below average strikeout matchup for Aaron Nola today. And then when you factor in also that the Mets are 23rd and 21st actually in ISO at home, again, another below average matchup for Aaron Nola today. 21st meaning that they're a little bit better than average. So on the other side of that, you're going to be reading it the other way around. And the next guy I had in was Chase Anderson. The only reason I like Chase Anderson a little bit is because he does limit power and strikes out lefties at 23% of the time, and this Pittsburgh lineup is filled with lefties. But breaking down into Pittsburgh splits against right-handed pitching, and they're 28th in K percentage, which means they strike out the 3rd least in the league. That's not great ever, again, especially for a pitcher who has no strikeout upside. And then when I broke down into it a little bit more, at home they are exactly average 15th in ISO. So it's an average matchup in terms of the power that you give up. This guy in Chase Anderson does give up power more so to righties, so a little bit better, but overall an average matchup with a bad pitcher usually helps the batters, and they don't strike out at all. So I took out Chase Anderson, I took out Aaron Nola. My interest in terms of pitchers in no ranking order: Patrick Korbin, Trevor Bauer, David Price, James Paxton, Devon Smelter, and Trent Thornton. Those are the 6. I'm going to be ranking them. I'm going to be telling you guys the ones that I'll be using in the article on Patreon. It's linked down below. I will also be doing my stacks there. I'm not going to rank any stacks now because I have no idea. I would just be spitballing it. I have no idea where I want to go with stacks as of right now. I have to look into the lines. I have to look into some of these other splits for the other pitchers, but that's where I'm at. Lot of conviction around James Paxton as of right now for me because I think this matchup is great. I think he is a talented pitcher. I think he is struggling right now, which is worrisome, but if he pieces it together, it's going to be an unstoppable matchup. So thank you. Appreciate it. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. For the 49% of you that just watched this video and are still not subscribed, maybe you didn't make it this far, what are you doing? This is free information. You're not even going to give me the benefit of just doing a little subscription for no struggle to you or harm to you at all. Okay, thank you so much. Peace out, gang.